Hello and welcome to podcast. This is my second time recording this episode because my microphone was not hooked up the first time, literally the whole entire time. And I had a feeling because it was not lit up so pretty. But I was like, no, I know it's in there. It's got to be good. I still recorded it anyway. Lesson learned, always the hard way. So, hello and welcome to this episode all about resistance. What are you resisting and how to get past this resistance that you might be feeling? It could be something with your body, your physical body, wanting to lose weight, wanting to look better, feel better, maybe getting in a relationship, maybe getting out of a relationship. Maybe it's just you're kind of at like this point where you feel stuck and you feel like nothing is working for you. And that's a very common feeling to have as a human adult, especially as a young adult, because there's no playbook for this shit. There is no playbook for how to gracefully grow up and do everything correctly. So there's no trauma or resistance. It's all beautiful. And that's if that was the case, life wouldn't actually be as beautiful, in my opinion, because with the things that we feel yucky about and stuck about and in resistance about really helps us live a better life if we use that um, to our advantage. There's two choices that we can make: is when that resistance comes up, do we fall victim to it and say every excuse in the book and just kind of fall into that dark deep hole, or do we say, okay, it's time to change something? This is giving me direction in a really in a way that's not necessarily comfortable, but it's important to recognize that it is a compass in a way, and we can really use this compass to our benefit rather than allowing this feeling of stuckness to just suck us down into that dark deep hole. Like, I literally picture me in a dark deep hole when I was depressed and I felt stuck, and I wanted a solution to fall from the sky, and I waited for that for way too long. But eventually I did pull myself out. It was harder because I made it harder throughout the process of creating more resistance on top of the resistance on top of the resistance. So there's a lot of layers that were blocking me. I created to block myself from getting out of it. So the intention of this episode is to help you release control, release resistance, to let go, and to be able to receive all that life wants to give to you. But what are you holding up inside of you, like literally and figuratively? Like, what are you holding on to that is creating that resistance? Typically, I've talked about attachments in the past. A lot of times it's attachments to an idea of what should be. So I told my client today, we need to stop shoulding all over ourselves. And that conversation that I had with her today was actually the reason I want to talk about this, because it's so prevalent, not just for me, not just for her, but for all humans. Congratulations. If you're a human on earth, I'm almost certain you have felt resistance or some sort of stuckness at some point in your life, even if it was a short amount of time. Could have been for a long amount of time like I've experienced, and I'm sure even longer amounts of time like other people experience. Maybe that's you. So I hope that this will help you with releasing that tension that resides within. And the mantra for this episode is, I release control. My energy is open to receiving. Because the antidote to feeling stuck is being like what? An open channel and full of flowy, you're in a flowy state. You can even think of the stuck nature as being like in your toxic masculinity of needing things to be a certain way in order to be happy, versus allowing circumstances around you to happen and not freak out and allow life to flow through you. So that's where we can create some ease and grace, is if we harness some beautiful divine feminine energy. And doing that includes going out in nature, going for walks, breathing in the fresh air, like literally nature, mother nature. That is the feminine. So be with nature. That is like always number one. And I would say the next thing to harness some of this more flowy energy is by like doing nothing. Like, if you could have a day, maybe it's a weekend, you can start with a weekend, or maybe it's before work or after work, or maybe you can take a break during work. I don't know. Maybe you don't work. That's cool. Take some time to do nothing and feel really good about that. And by nothing, I don't mean literally sitting there and like staring at the wall. I mean like dancing to music, like praying, saying some mantras. I guess that's really not doing nothing, but in our society today, we kind of think of that as doing nothing, is like, oh, that's just a waste of time, or oh, I have too much to do. But when we focus so much on the doing, that's when we fall into that resistance, because we're suddenly doing things that aren't lighting us up, and that, like, oh my God, like I haven't even spent any time thinking about how do I feel? Like, how am I feeling right now? Because oftentimes the feeling of stuckness, it could be there for a long time, but there might be some depression that washes over you to give you that signal, like you're resisting something. It could be something physical in your body. It could be your back is a big one. People hold their emotions in their back a lot, especially the lower back. Your throat, especially if you're not using your throat chakra as it has designed to be, which is speaking your truth. If you feel even resistance with doing something as simple, even though sometimes it's not very simple, because some truths are hard to swallow. They're hard to swallow pills that we give out sometimes. And I'm talking to myself there. Just listen to that We Are in a Spiritual Warfare, or This is Spiritual Warfare episode, where I talk about a lot of things that for me are not taboo, or like, oh my God, I need to walk on eggshells when I talk about this. But it's just the way society is. It's like they get really antsy about things that go against the common narrative. And I automatically, like, that's what we all do automatically as humans, is we suddenly are like, oh, something new. Like, I don't think that's right, because I've never heard that before. And yes, although we might be evolved adults, there is always more to learn. And so it's important to open ourselves up to the possibility of something else could be true. Or maybe there's multiple truths happening at the same time. So when we're able to do that alone, that allows resistance in that sense of your beliefs and of thinking and feeling what's true. That's an important aspect to look at in your life, of how are you resisting other ideas? If so, maybe you're not. I'm really proud of myself. I'm really at a place where when I hear someone's opinion about anything, and it could be abortion, it could be COVID, like literally the biggest things that are like, she thinks what? When I hear anyone's opinion, even if it is so far from my own opinion, I am able to listen with a compassionate heart and find some understanding. If I listen to them. If I'm just looking at a headline about whoever said what, and it was probably a snippet pulled that was out of context, and I get angry about that right there tells me that there's a lot of resistance with the way that I feel just about whatever that is, whatever that triggered in you. And when we're able to feel a little bit more relaxed, when we feel like actually good with what we think and what we feel and what our truth is, when we feel good about that, when someone challenges that, not even directly, but write an article that completely basically denies everything that you've ever thought. When that happens, when you come across that and you're able to be like, oh, that's okay, hold on, this is going to take a minute, but let me like take this in and think about it and understand that, wait a minute, the whole world does not revolve around me. I don't have every idea in the goddamn book that has ever existed. It's just it's something that is basically these days, it's a skill to have. It's a skill to feel like the world is not going to end when someone disagrees with you, or when, especially if it's someone that you're close to, and they have a different thought about even your own decisions in your own life. That's where boundaries come in. But I don't want to digress too much. So we just want the way to feel a little bit flowier in life, again, is to harness that feminine energy, get in nature, get dancing, get moving, start meditating, start praying, and have that solid belief system, because that's not a masculine trait, is having a belief or having faith. It's something that is more heart-based and heart-centered, not head. Because when you think about it, okay, how do we prove there's a God? How do we prove there's angels? That's your brain denying things that could actually help you. And, your brain will bring you into resistance if we allow it to, if we don't take charge of our mindset, and if we don't understand that our brains are designed to keep us solving problems, to make it seem like there's always a problem. Like our brains are basically computers that are problem solvers. And when there's not a problem, oftentimes, if we're not spiritually developed, if we're not personally developed, if we're not like really working on ourselves, we completely just spin out of control. And I totally forgot what I was saying. I don't know what is with my brain today. Side note, yesterday I had the worst pain I've ever had. Maybe in my entire life, but definitely not any time around this area, this time. I can't even talk. What am I saying? This is the worst pain I've ever experienced, like at least lately. Like I've never felt this amount of stomach pain in my life. And I don't know, I think it was chicken, because I had a dream. This is this is a side tangent, but it's interesting. I had a dream. All I remember is that, like, to not eat dead flesh, like meat, with fresh vegetables or fresh, like, alive food. It would like make you sick. But I remember like dead humans being a part of that, which is really weird. So I didn't really take that dream too seriously, but I did know in the back of my head, like, is this a calling for my diet to like not have meat in it for a while? And I don't really eat meat too heavily. When I do, it's organic, it's grass-fed, the whole thing, pasture raised, local, definitely not that Walmart stuff that's sitting on the shelves for way too long that's full of hormones and antibiotics. Like, please, if you change anything from this podcast, even though this is about resistance, just eat better meat. Eat it, make sure it's coming from a local farm and not one of those horrible butcher houses that just slaughter them so inhumanely, and then treat them inhumanely as they're living. Okay, that was a major side tangent, but my stomach yesterday was so much pain, and I was like in the bathroom for, I don't know, a half hour to an hour, and I literally felt like I had a fever come over me suddenly, and I almost felt like I was going to pass out on the toilet. And it was really scary, and I was like, I don't know what this is, but this can never happen again because I will die. So maybe that's why my brain is acting weird today, because I don't know what is moving through me, but I am doing ayahuasca this weekend, which I'm obviously very excited about. It's going to be my second time. Listen to my ayahuasca episodes if you haven't yet. It's so intriguing to talk and to listen about plant medicine and psychedelic drugs. It's not a drug, psychedelic medicine. It's not a drug. I don't like to call it a drug. There's no reason to call it a drug. It is a very sacred medicine. Anyways, back to the topic of the hour, resistance. Maybe I was just resisting talking about resistance. It's probably what it was. No, I feel resistance a lot in my life. And usually I feel like I know what I need to do, but I don't want to do it. Like, that's the feeling that I have. Like, do you ever have resistance about working out, and you promise yourself you're going to wake up early and you were going to go, and you resist it? You resist it. Why are you resisting it? Let's get down to it. Why do you resist the things that you want the most? It's because you're not actually resisting what you want. You're resisting the journey to getting what you want. So it's really important to recognize, because when we can understand that there is a journey that does bring discomfort, that will help us release some resistance, because we know it's not going to be rainbows and butterflies along the way the whole time. It's going to take a little pain in the stomach like I had last night. I'm just kidding. Hopefully not. My God, I do not wish that on anybody. Like, please, dear Lord, never do that to anyone ever again. I'm just kidding. Okay. No, but I feel a lot better after all that came out of me, though. It was a release, let's just say that. And that tends to happen with ayahuasca. Last time I did it, I was really sick. I had, basically, it was like mono for a week, like flu-like, cold-like kind of thing. It was totally doable, but it felt like, I remember feeling sick, nauseous, but being like, this is an upgrade right now. And I knew it. I just felt like it's an upgrade. And by the way, when you get sick, if and when you get sick, I mean, we all get sick if we're human, again, mostly. Take care of yourself so you don't get sick very often. But when you do get sick, tell yourself that this is an upgrade, because your body will will work for you more so than against you. Every time you drink water or green juice when you're sick, or not even when you're not sick, think of it as purifying your body. There's a meditation I heard. Okay, never mind. I'm going off on tangents now. So the resistance will come up in many different ways. Oftentimes, like I have mentioned, it can be just a feeling of like you're in a hole and there's nothing you can do about it, and you need something else to save you. That is resisting what is. When we resist what is, as in who we are and everything that has happened leading up until this moment, if we are resisting it, then we're resisting our own lives. We're resisting living to our fullest, because we're saying, no, can't deal. Nope, can't deal. Cannot look at the real here. The true is too true. It hurts too much. I can't. We're not doing it. We're not doing it. Let's just Netflix and chill. I'm gonna drink some wine. And guess what? You might be helping yourself with a tiny little band-aid of maybe feeling a little better in your ego, because you get those nacho chips down your mouth, like, feels good, right? Feels good for a minute. Binging, letting go of just reality feels good. But then what happens when you wake up the next day? You're still the same person. You still have the same shit that you've been carrying that you've decided to not let go of or look at. So when we can resist, like, we literally have to stop resisting anything that is negative or anything that feels kind of like awkward or weird or uncomfortable, because that is the path to success. That is the path to reaching our highest selves, our best selves in this lifetime. We can embody these people that we're supposed to be, that we are right now. But when we have this shield, this invisible shield of resistance within us, around us, again, life is dull. Life becomes more dull and it becomes anxiety ridden. So what can you do to release that tension? Well, there's a lot of different breathwork practices you can do, as well as, I mean, there's so much. That's why it's hard, because I'm like a life coach, because it's just, there's so much we can do with our lives to help us. It's not just the energies of masculine and feminine and going out into the woods and being a fairy out there. That will help. I'm telling you, that will help. But that's not the only thing. And it's different for everyone for what we can do. I want to even show you something that I just got from Michaels, and you're not seeing this obviously if you're just listening, but I'm holding up a little watercolor notepad. So it's a little, it's almost like, what is it? 4x6. So it's like a little card size watercolor paper, thick paper. And then I have a little watercolor paint set that I got from Michaels. And I got it because it's one of those things where, do we ever allow ourselves to just sit there and like not be super productive and super, like, again, masculine of to-do lists, get this done, make dinner, boom, 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 boom. What about taking some time to like literally just paint some watercolor because it's pretty and fun? You don't even have to post it on Instagram. You don't even have to share it. It's for you. These are the things that we need to do to release resistance, because this helps harness our flow and getting out of our head into our body, out of our head into our body. That's why dancing is so key. If you don't want to dance, if you hate dancing, shake your body, shake it out, shake it out, shake out the resistance. And when you're doing that, imagine stuff coming out of you, like little pellets of like black pellets coming out of you, shooting out of your fingertips and out of your limbs and your legs. And that's releasing resistance. Like, have that as your intention when you have your time to spend on yourself, because everyone should spend some time on themselves every single day, even though I don't want to shit all over you. That was another thing that came up in this client call today. We talked about shitting all over ourselves. That creates a lot of resistance, because if you're saying, I should have done this, then you are resisting what actually happened or what you actually did. So own it instead and learn from it, and then move forward. Let's look forward out of the windshield instead of glancing back at that rear view a million times over and then getting into a car accident because you're so obsessed with the past and what you messed up. There's a better way to live than that. We don't have to keep perpetuating the past. When we're perpetuating the past and we're living at our past, we're resisting our future. And that's an important aspect to think about, because we are, again, computers. And so our brains become programmed. The longer we live, the more programs exist. And the deeper these neural pathways are carved out in our brain. The more you do something, the more you think something, the more it will tend to happen in the future. So what are you doing right now to create less resistance for your future? And that typically looks like being real with yourself. What do I need to do right now, today, in order to show up for myself in a way that will bring my best self forward, that will create a life that doesn't feel like I need to resist it, that I really, how can I create a life that I love, that I want to fall into, that I just want to melt into and just be obsessed with in such a healthy way? What does that look like for you? And what is the resistance that's standing in your way in order to get there? A hint, it's probably you. And you might say, oh no, it's my mom, or it's my sister, or it's, I didn't get this job, so it's not that. Like, so it's that boss, it's that person, it's technology, it's the algorithm. Like, there's so many things we can blame everything on. And when you find yourself in that blame game, you're living in resistance, my friend, because you're resisting the fact that you have created this reality that you are living today. And when we resist that, we are resisting our future, which means the past patterns that have been ingrained in your brain so deeply are going to continue to perpetuate your future. So you're going to continue to live out the past that you want to get away from if you don't consciously make the decision to create new neural pathways. And that means like little things that will help, little habits, little things that you can do, changing things up. What is the route that you take to work? Go a different way one day. Again, that's like something so physical and silly seeming, but the more that we kind of not necessarily keep ourselves guessing, but I guess so, because think about it like a workout for your body. If you do the same workout every single day, same set of weights, never change the amount of weights, same motion, what's going to happen? It's just becomes a norm for your body. You're used to it. The weights become really easy to do, but you do it anyway because it's just what you do. And there's not really any results that you'll get because you'll find yourself at a plateau with your strength and your fitness. So we got to think about that with our brains, training our brains and our subconscious mind. We have to work on that consciously. It's a muscle to work. The self-love muscle is connected to that too, because when we're mindful, we're actually mindful. Why? Because we want to give ourselves a better life, which comes from self-love, integrity, showing up for ourselves in the littlest ways that we possibly can, and the big ways once in a while. But the little ways, like doing watercolor, like doing a little watercolor for no reason, that creates new neural pathways. Driving to a different way to work, new neural pathways. Writing a note to someone that you've never written a note to, or maybe it's someone you've written a note to, but you say something you've never said. What have you not done that you really want to do that you can do in a small way today? That will help crack you open and help release. I just like pictured an egg cracking and then smoke coming out of it. Like the resistance is rising, it's coming up. And are there good times? I just had this question come through. Are there good times to be in resistance? Yes, but it's how long you stand in that resistance, because it's kind of like being triggered, right? How long are you going to sit in that pain of being mad about something that someone said or something that happened? How long are you going to sit in that? When resistance comes through, feel that, because it's a compass. But how long are you going to sit in it? If you're sitting in it throughout your life, I'm telling you, you know these people. They're miserable because they're resisting their lives. You can tell those people. There's bags under their eyes. They're smoking cigarettes and they're drinking every day and they're pissed about literally anything that they quote unquote have to do. They don't recognize that they have created their lives. So when we recognize that we create our own lives, we are the creators, we have gotten ourselves to this point today. Our current reality is because of us. When we can recognize that, that helps release the resistance that maybe has been holding you back from moving forward. When we're in a state of resistance, it's hard to move forward. It's one of those things you ever hear people say, or maybe you've said it before. I took 2 steps forward and 8 steps back. I don't know. I just can't. And that's living in resistance, because guess what? Sometimes there are setbacks, but when we embrace that setback, sometimes it will launch us even farther, even faster, because maybe the universe has another idea of how this manifestation will come through for you. So when we are able to release the resistance of needing to have certain things come through your reality in a very certain way, aka control freak. If you're feeling that control freak, that's a toxic masculine trait. And we have to let that go in order to live our best lives. So remember, it's not what you're resisting, obviously, is not what you want. You're resisting the journey to getting there. So start embracing the journey and have some fun. Know that in this discomfort, you can have fun. You can have it all. You can have it, all of that happening at the same time. A little discomfort, but also fun and exhilarating. Like, this is scary, but I'm excited. It's like a job interview, you know? Focus on moving forward. Like you're every day you have a job interview the next day. Like, how are you prepping yourself? But do it for you. Like, what's the interview like with yourself? Do you ever think about that? You put so much power in other people's hands when you talk to them. I don't mean to project at you, but I'm talking about all of us. So let's put the power back in our own hands, take control of our lives, and release control. Okay, that's the mantra for today. I release control. My energy is open to receiving. And I'm telling you, if you remind yourself of this every single day, there will be magic that automatically comes your way. It's not something you have to force into your life. But that's your energy field that has to be adjusted in order to fully be able to receive the manifestations you are currently working on. Open up, let go, baby. You got this. I truly believe in you. I truly believe in all of us. One day at a time, one step at a time, one small choice at a time. We have the power, and it's time to remember that. And not just once in a while, every single day. Step into your power when you wake up. You got this. I hope this episode has helped you in any way, shape, or form. Thank you for being here. If this could help anyone at all in your life, please send this to them, this episode to them. I want to be in someone's ears that might need to hear this. And I have a feeling it's happening. So I really appreciate you for listening and tuning in to podcasts. Until next time, I will catch you. See ya.